Here is a view into my thoughts of the 2 years I've spent taking the journey from beginner to experienced teacher, working through the Certificate of Education Foundation degree. I have been in the engineering sector for most of my working career, and I've come to a stage in my life where I've decided to take myself into the next level and move from the shop floor to a role as an educator in the sector I have vast experience of. This has been an intense ride with many turns, ups, downs and a few surprises along the way. I have found many things out about myself, created a style to my own teaching, picked up many different resources that assist with the day-to-day rigours of lesson planning and attempting to convey information in a variety of methods. My introduction to the course was through the first module, Know Your Learner, which was a very good start to introduce me to the world of teaching and a fundamental piece of learning for anyone who is wanting to become a teacher in any form or level of education. Through this subject, I've been introduced to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and have gained a knowledge of how this can be used as a tool to involve and cater for all comers to any subject matter. From the way a room is set up to work for all learners to the home comforts and necessary equipment for a successful learning experience. This may be the most useful part of the course altogether for myself, as it gave me a lot of insight into how to teach a wide range of students with a whole variety of needs and learning habits. And without using this as a first step into teaching and knowing your learner, then you have nowhere to go from here. I also found reflective evaluation of benefit in the first year, giving me the skills to evaluate my learners properly, whilst also looking at how to evaluate my own learning and develop as a successful provider of education. This gave me a good insight into the part of teaching which makes the whole process work. The best way to give the students a path to move forward along and a checklist of targets to hit. This is a section that introduced me to the work of Anne Gravells, who seems to be an author I've revisited throughout the whole course. I also became much better at looking inwards and evaluating my own practices for improvement in my own methods. The final parts of this year mainly focused on the more technical aspects of teaching and the routines needed to be followed to produce successful planning, create good behaviours and routines in your teaching. The second year focuses more on the theory of teaching, methods and pedagogy to follow to excel in the role of a teacher. One of my biggest takes from this year was the Action Research project, which set the task of creating an intervention that will help the students to overcome issues that have become apparent within the classroom setting. I had found an issue with the groups recalling the training being given when they had set up the equipment in the workshop throughout the year, and solved this with QR codes and training videos the students can access at any point as a refresher. This gave me insight into the process of self-evaluation again, as well as examining the usual practices of teachers. I have kept these training videos and will be using them throughout the rest of my career as an engineering educator, as I am very proud of how they turned out and the success level of the videos as a concept. This will also be something I would like to continue in my own time as a YouTube channel, as I enjoyed the process so much. Through all of these new experiences and learning opportunities, I've gained my own personal pedagogy based around Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which fits in with the workshop scenarios I teach in because of the layout and setup we must use to make the workshop learning situation successful. As well as teaching in a scaffold approach with my learners, giving them full support in the early learning process and then letting them fly the nest in a way and independently work with the machinery and tools of their chosen subject. This all fits really well with the type of education I'm providing and the methods I must depend on, and without the training and learning I've gone through in Certificate of Education, I would have struggled to come across in other ways, so to me the course has been invaluable. I have the necessary physical skills to be a great fabricator, but needed access to knowledge in how to interact with student groups of all types and in what ways to best relay large amounts of complex information. As well as these newfound skills, I now have a much better understanding of the need for inclusiveness in any education provider's key goals. This comes from a mission to make all learning processes and educational resources acceptable to all cultures, ability levels and extra considerations that any possible learner could live with or stand by. At the core of all this is the understanding that it is a human right of every person to be able to educate themselves without having to struggle to do so more than any other person. I have been made aware of the finer details of my own college's safeguarding roles and responsibilities, as well as the inclusion team's part to play in the aims of making sure everyone is welcomed with open arms and catered for properly within the tasks I have carried out to complete my own learning process to achieve this qualification. This has opened my eyes to a whole range of advances in technology, teaching methods and procedures that far exceed what I could have imagined available in the role I'm in, to make sure people of every situation have a successful program of learning and achieve as highly as they possibly can. These are tools I have access to in using my own teaching scenarios with great success as part of my own wide variation of differentiation and learning aids which help all kinds of students in different ways. This is backed up by my newfound knowledge of VAC learning styles, visual, auditory and kinesthetic, and the way different people learn in different ways, meaning the processes I use for one student may not be the correct processes for the next learner, and so on, meaning that I must now have several ways to produce the same outcome and have the availability to use them at any time. Although now there is more belief, this thought and process of learning style can do more harm than good. A paper from Newton and Salvi for Frontiers in Education delves into this in detail, and there is now more belief this could be the case, as pigeonholing learners could cause harm to their development. I now feel I will use this theory with care and a loose grasp on my teaching. With all this in mind and the experience I've gained over a 2-year course and my first 2 years of on-the-job experience, I feel my functional skills have improved immensely. Coming from a life working in engineering workshops countrywide to then settling into a base at a college and a teaching role, I have had no choice but to quickly adapt and reinvent my own working practices. My own academic writing has taken huge leaps over the course, and this is my first experience of attempting to write substantially in any way since I completed my tradesman's apprenticeship almost 20 years ago. And because of this, I am now in a position to better teach the students how they should be producing successful pieces of written work to a standard acceptable for examination boards. I have also felt the need to revisit a wide range of the maths needed in my sector to polish the finer details and gain the confidence to convey this mathematical theory in full, and also give the students the right attitude and delivery to feel they can believe and remember fully what is being taught without doubting my teaching and losing confidence themselves. Since coming into an academic role, my computer skills have had to be improved on greatly as well, as the programs I may have used 20 years ago are miles away from the software and technology of today. This course has given me the insight to new ways of using technology in the classroom, including Kahoots, Mentimeters, Padlet and Microsoft Teams, to name a few. This has been beneficial to students as they have an age group where these new technologies are what they have been growing up with and have already been using in the learning institutions they have come from. I now have the ability to use different IT skills and programs in my own teaching, making interacting with a wide audience successful. This also makes my production of resources easier and developed, making the experience a more professional situation for the learners, giving a better learning environment and inspiring confidence. Going forward from this point in my career as an FE teacher, I would now like to develop a much more detailed base of resources for the learning courses I am delivering, making detailed lesson plans for everything I deliver this year in a lesson by lesson setup, making adjustments to these plans as I try them in my classroom sessions and working out if the timings are correct or if more or less content is required in the next year's course. This is going well as I am starting my next year's planning and getting a set of in-depth lesson plans for the first term already. It is giving me the feeling I am already fully prepared for the lesson before I have turned up for it, and having the correct resources with me to produce a quality lesson with all the relevant information being taught to the group. I am also still keen to improve my advanced maths knowledge so I can teach the even more advanced maths sessions which head more towards full engineering problems rather than the more basic fabricating working out. Maths is a large part of the engineering industry, and now I am teaching I have to use a wider engineering theory. This can range from tolerances, cumulative error, all the way through to Pythagoras theorem, trigonometry and intersecting chords, which can easily become advanced to anyone who doesn't use maths at this level on a regular basis. I would finally like to develop my technical drawing ability, as there is now more of this subject coming up in the lessons I will be teaching in the coming years. This will take some time as it is an advanced subject, but I feel it will be a great goal to aim for. Although the last 2 years have been a real challenge, maybe not helped by the COVID pandemic, and I have been pushed to the limits of my abilities, timescales, energy levels and even mental health at times, I would still be happy to say this was a worthwhile journey that has bettered me for the rest of my life, has taught me things I would never have come close to otherwise, and changed me as a person. I would still advise this as a route for anybody wanting to venture in this direction. Thank you for taking the time to watch through this presentation. I hope it's been helpful to you, I hope you found it entertaining, and hopefully you'll be able to get through the same journey yourself. Good luck!